started. Okay, so I think we get started. Sunilji and Padmaniji already, right? And Subhashi already. So we'll get started. So welcome everybody to the third session of our online Gita Parayan and Satsang, which is being organized by Gita Jayanti Singapore. So today we have Sri Subhashi as our welcome as guest of honor for today from the Vihangam Yoga. So he will be giving us a brief welcome address after the initial invocations verses. So I think without much ado, let us get started, Sunilji, with the invocations.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidyushavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chadurbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyaye Sarva Vighnopashantaye Saraswati Namastubhyam Varate Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sata Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagat Gurum.
Thank you so much, Sunilji. And now we have the segment is the welcome address by our guest of honor for today. So we have great pleasure in having Sri Subhashi of Vihangam Yoga. Vihangam Yoga was actually the lead organization for the Gita Jayanti the previous time before the current lead organization, which is actually the HEB. So I will actually like to mute all the people because to prevent any issues of noise issues. So I'll be muting only the host, co-host, and the host will be able to unmute yourself. And at the end of the session, people will be able to unmute. So that you can ask your questions. So now over to Subhashi.
Jai Shri Krishna KK once again, and to everyone, my greetings to all of you. Brahmanandam Parama Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dandatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tat Masyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tvam Nama. Jai Shri Krishna. It's a pleasure to be on this platform one more time. Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity on behalf of Vihangam Yoga. I'd like to thank everyone for joining this wonderful Parayan event. Just a couple of things I would like to mention here. We all are human beings, and our existence is very, very important. But the important thing more is how much knowledge we have gained so far. There has been an objective for each of our life. There are 4 types of knowledges. A knowledge of the Prakriti, means the natural phenomena and its relationship with the soul. The second type of knowledge is about the soul itself. The third type of knowledge is the knowledge of the Brahma, the creator. And the fourth type of knowledge is the knowledge of the Parabrahma and its relationship with each and every entity. How we are connected to all these, on which basis, we have to think about. Are we connected to all these conscious entities just at a level of our mind, our intellect, or our ego? Or we are connected with all these entities at a level of conscious soul? That's one of the objectives to know of Gita as well. How we can shift our basis from the mind and the body and the intellect to the level of soul itself, because everything else has to be realized at that level. And that's why Bhagavan Shri Krishna has been throughout mentioning to Arjuna that please don't think things on the basis of mind and your emotion only. You have to shift your basis to the conscious level, the level of the soul itself. Once we reach out to that level, all of our agony, all of our problems will simply be eradicated. That's what the message of Gita is. And we are so much engrossed in our day-to-day activities, in our day-to-day life things, what we are doing here and there, on the basis of attachment with our sense organs and its objects and subjects, that we don't really give time to ourselves to reach out to the level of soul. Bhagavan Shri Krishna has said in chapter 2, I think right now we all are reading that, Nayanang chindati shastrani, nayanang dahati pavaka, na chanang kledgantyapo na shoshyati maruta. This has to be realized. It's not just probably for read. We have to realize this at the level of soul itself, that this body is just temporarily given to us. What will happen if I have to leave this body? How would I function? That we need to realize, that we need to understand. And he further said that yoga is the only thing based on which we can uplift ourselves. Yoga is something which we must imbibe inside our daily life. And it's not something to do just 5 minute, 10 minute, 15-minute kind of thing. It is a process. It's a system to which we have to connect ourselves. And once we are connected, then all the karmas, all the activities, all the thought process, and everything will simply be connected and relate itself to the supreme existence. I think in our day-to-day life, Gita has been playing so much of important role to make us realize what exactly our life is about, to what extent we have to stretch ourselves, from which comfort zone to discomfort zone we have to move as a pleasure to accept, is to be learned from Gita. I think reading Gita on a daily basis, on a regular basis, gives so much of peace to our mind, and beyond that also, that it is unparalleled compared to anything else. And that's why, thanks to Gita Jayanti, that every moment, every time, every week, every month, we have been organizing such kind of Parayan so that every single person can be benefited from the wordings, from the divine wordings of Gita. So here, today, on this auspicious occasion where we all are gathered for the Parayan of Gita, I request each single one of you to please let us become more conscious to understand these words, not just on the basis of what we hear through our ears, but also at a level of the heart where the soul resides. Once these words penetrate our heart and we realize it the way it has to be realized, our journey, the spiritual journey, would be something different what it has been comparatively right now. I would like to congratulate each one of you here for upcoming 25th year of Gita Jayanti. The journey has been incredible so far, and we are glad to mention that Vihangam Yoga has been one of the parts so far of this journey, and would like to continue our journey with Gita Jayanti in the same way. And I hope we will be inspired by Gita Jayanti to a larger extent, and we will be able to provide our service to the same way, the way we have been, or probably more than that. Once again, thank you very much for having me here. Jai Shri Krishna.
Thank you so much, Subhashi, for those beautiful words, and also the importance of trying to understand the Gita, not just chanting the Gita, then understanding the Gita and practicing it, and to understand the practice of yoga itself. So it's really beautiful. Thank you so much for this very nice message. So now we have a number of things. We have to complete the full 40 verses to be chanted today, and after that we have a talk by Sunilji, and then we have a brief quiz segment followed by the ending part and the Q&A by people about the talk. So we have a number of things coming up in a short while. So we're requesting everybody to remain for the whole session and enjoy the Bhagavad Gita and get immersed in it and try to understand the whole ideas of the Gita. So now I will start sharing the screen back again. So thank you to Subhashi once again. So now we start with the Bhagavad Gita Dhyanam, which is basically meditation on the Bhagavad Gita, and then followed by the actual chanting portion for today. So over to Padmini for the chanting of the Gita Dhyanam.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Srimad Bhagavad Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshini Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Ullara Vindayata Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradeepa Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Panaye Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavaha Tobdha Gopala Nandanaha Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gitamritam Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jana Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagrahavati Kripena Vahani Karnena Vela Kula Ashwathama Vikarna Ghora Makara दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः.
Thank you for the beautiful invocation. Some noise is coming. Requesting everybody to unmute, to mute yourself when you're not using the mic. So now we move over to the actual Gita Parayan. The chapter, the portions for today is the rest of the chapter 2, which we started last week, last session. So this today we'll be starting with verse 33 and we'll continue till the end of the chapter, that is till 72. So over to Sunilji and Padmini.
अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यम्
अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं
संग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं संग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि
अथ चेत्त्वमिमं धर्म्यं संग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापमवाप्स्यसि
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते व्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिः मरणादतिरिच्यते भयाद्रणातु परतं मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम् भयाद्रणातु परतं मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम् भयाद्रणातु परतं मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां
येषां च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्
अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून्
अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून्
वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः
वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः
निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम्
निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम्
ततो दुःखतरं न किम्
ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्
अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम् ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्
अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यम् ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्
अतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम्
ततो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम्
जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम्
जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम्
तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय
तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय
युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः
युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः
अदो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम् जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः
अतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम् जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः सुखदुःखे समे कृत्वा
सुखदुःखे समे कृत्वा
लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ
लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ
ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व
ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व
नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि
नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि
सुखदुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि
सुखदुःखे समे कृत्वा लाभालाभौ जयाजयौ ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व नैवं पापमवाप्स्यसि
एषा ते विहिता सांख्ये
एषा ते विहिता सांख्ये
बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु
बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु
बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ
बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ
कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि
कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि
एषा ते विहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि
एषा ते विहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति
प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते
प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते
स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य
स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य
त्रायते महतो भयात्
त्रायते महतो भयात्
नेहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्
देहाभिक्रमनाशोऽस्ति प्रत्यवायो न विद्यते स्वल्पमप्यस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः
एकेह कुरु नन्दन
एकेह कुरु नन्दन
बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च
बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च
बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्
बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः एकेह कुरु नन्दन बहुशाखा ह्यनन्ताश्च बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्
यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचम्
यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचम्
प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चितः
प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चितः
वेदवादरताः पार्थ
वेदवादरताः पार्थ
नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः
नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः
यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचम् प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चितः वेदवादरताः पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः
यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचम् प्रवदन्त्य विपश्चितः वेदवादरताः पार्थ नान्यदस्तीति वादिनः कामात्मनः स्वर्गपराः
कामात्मानः स्वर्गपराः
जन्म कर्म फलप्रदाम्
क्रियाविशेषबहुलाम् भोगैश्वर्यगतिं प्रति
कामात्मनः स्वर्गपराः जन्म कर्म फलप्रदाम् क्रियाविशेषबहुलाम् भोगैश्वर्यगतिं प्रति
कामात्मानः स्वर्गपराः जन्म कर्म फलप्रदाम् क्रियाविशेषबहुलाम् भोगैश्वर्यगतिं प्रति भोगैश्वर्यप्रसक्तानाम् तयापहृतचेतसाम्
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः
समाधौ न विधीयते
भोगैश्वर्यप्रसक्तानाम् तयापहृतचेतसाम् व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते
भोगैश्वर्यप्रसक्तानाम् तयापहृतचेतसाम् व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः समाधौ न विधीयते
त्रैगुण्यविषया
वेदाः
निस्त्रैगुण्यो
भवार्जुन
निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थः निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्
निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्
त्रैगुण्यविषया वेदाः निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थः निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्
त्रैगुण्यविषया वेदाः निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुन निर्द्वन्द्वो नित्यसत्त्वस्थः निर्योगक्षेम आत्मवान्
यावानर्थ
यावानर्थ उदपाने
सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके
सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके
तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु
तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु
ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः
ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः
यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः
यावानर्थ उदपाने सर्वतः सम्प्लुतोदके तावान् सर्वेषु वेदेषु ब्राह्मणस्य विजानतः
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते
मा फलेषु कदाचन
मा फलेषु कदाचन
मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः
मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः
मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि
मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि
कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भूः मा ते सङ्गोऽस्त्वकर्मणि
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय
सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा
सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योः समो भूत्वा
समत्वं योग उच्यते
समत्वं योग उच्यते
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते
योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा धनञ्जय सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योः समो भूत्वा समत्वं योग उच्यते दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म
दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म
बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय
बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय
बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ
बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ
कृपणाः फलहेतवः
कृपणाः फलहेतवः
दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाः फलहेतवः
दूरेण ह्यवरं कर्म बुद्धियोगात् धनञ्जय बुद्धौ शरणमन्विच्छ कृपणाः फलहेतवः
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह
उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते
उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते
तस्माद्योगाय युज्यस्व
तस्मात् योगाय युज्यस्व
योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्
योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्
बुद्धियुक्तो जहातीह उभे सुकृतदुष्कृते तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्व योगः कर्मसु कौशलम्
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि
फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः
फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः
जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः
जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः
पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्
पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्
कर्मजं बुद्धियुक्ता हि फलं त्यक्त्वा मनीषिणः जन्मबन्धविनिर्मुक्ताः पदं गच्छन्त्यनामयम्
यदा ते मोहकलिलम्
यदा ते मोहकलिलं
बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति
बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति
तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदम्
तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदम्
श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च
श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च
यदा ते मोहकलिलम् बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदम् श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च
यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदम् श्रोतव्यस्य श्रुतस्य च
श्रुतिविप्रतिपन्ना ते
श्रुतिविप्रतिपन्ना ते
यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला
यदा स्थास्यसि निश्चला
समाधावचला बुद्धिः
समाधावचला बुद्धिः
तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि
तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि
श्रुतिविप्रतिपन्ना ते यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिः तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि
श्रुतिविप्रतिपन्ना ते यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधावचला बुद्धिः तदा योगमवाप्स्यसि
अर्जुन उवाच
अर्जुन उवाच
स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा
स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा
समाधिस्थस्य केशव
समाधिस्थस्य केशव
स्थितधीः किं प्रभाषेत
स्थितधीः किं प्रभाषेत
किमासीत व्रजेत किम्
किमासीत व्रजेत किम्
अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्थस्य केशव स्थितधीः किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्।
अर्जुन उवाच स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्थस्य केशव स्थितधीः किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच
श्रीभगवानुवाच
प्रजहाति यदा कामान्
प्रजहाति यदा कामान्
सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान्
सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान्
आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः
आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः
स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते
स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते।
श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते।
श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते।
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः
सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः
सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः
वीतरागभयक्रोधः
वीतरागभयक्रोधः
स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते
स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते।
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधः स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते।
दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधः स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते।
यः सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः
यः सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः
तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम्
तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम्
नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि
नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि
तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता।
तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता।
यः सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम् नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता।
यः सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम् नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता।
यदा संहरते
चायम्
कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता। यदा संहरते चायम् कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता।
यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते
निराहारस्य देहिनः
निराहारस्य देहिनः
रसवर्जौ रसोऽप्यस्य
रसवर्जौ रसोऽप्यस्य
परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जौ रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जौ रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय
यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय
पुरुषस्य
विपश्चितः
इन्द्रियाणि
इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि
हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः
यततो ह्यपि कौन्तेय पुरुषस्य विपश्चितः इन्द्रियाणि प्रमाथीनि हरन्ति प्रसभं मनः तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता
तानि सर्वाणि संयम्य युक्त आसीत मत्परः वशे हि यस्येन्द्रियाणि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषूपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषूपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते
ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसः संगस्तेषूपजायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते
क्रोधाद् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः
स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः
बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति
बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति
क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति
रागद्वेषवियुक्तैस्तु
रागद्वेषवियुक्तैस्तु
विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन्
विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन्
आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा
आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा
प्रसादमधिगच्छति
प्रसादमधिगच्छति
रागद्वेषवियुक्तैस्तु विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन् आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा प्रसादमधिगच्छति
रागद्वेषवियुक्तैस्तु विषयानिन्द्रियैश्चरन् आत्मवश्यैर्विधेयात्मा प्रसादमधिगच्छति
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां
हानिरस्योपजायते
हानिरस्योपजायते
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु
बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते
बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते
प्रसादे सर्वदुःखानां हानिरस्योपजायते प्रसन्नचेतसो ह्याशु बुद्धिः पर्यवतिष्ठते
नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य
नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य
न चायुक्तस्य भावना
न चायुक्तस्य भावना
न चाभावयतः शान्तिः
न चाभावयतः शान्तिः
अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्
अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्
नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम्
नास्ति बुद्धिरयुक्तस्य न चायुक्तस्य भावना न चाभावयतः शान्तिः अशान्तस्य कुतः सुखम् इन्द्रियाणां हि चरताम् यन्मनोनुविधीयते
यन्मनोनुविधीयते
तदस्य हरति प्रज्ञाम्
तदस्य हरति प्रज्ञाम्
वायुर्नावमिवाम्भसि
वायुर्नावमिवाम्भसि
इन्द्रियाणां हि चरताम् यन्मनोनुविधीयते तदस्य हरति प्रज्ञाम् वायुर्नावमिवाम्भसि
इन्द्रियाणां हि चरताम् यन्मनोनुविधीयते तदस्य हरति prajñam vayurnavamivambhasi.
Tasmadyasya mahabaho
Tasmadyasya mahabaho
nigrihitani sarvashaha
nigrihitani sarvashaha
indriyani indriyarthebhyaha
indriyani indriyarthebhyaha
tasya pradnya pratisthita
tasya prajñā pratisthita.
tasmadyasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha tasya pradnya pratisthita.
Tasmadyasya mahabaho nigrihitani sarvashaha indriyani indriyarthebhyaha tasya prajñā pratisthita.
Ya nisha sarvabhutanam
Ya nisha sarvabhutanam
tasyam jagarti sanyami
tasyam jagarti samyami.
yasyam jagrati bhutani
Yasyam jagrati bhutani
sa nisha pashyato munehe.
sa nisha pashyato munehe.
Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe.
Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe.
Apuryamānamacala pratishtham
Apuryamanamachala pratishtham
samudramāpah pravishanti yadvat
samudramāpah pravishanti yadvat
tadvat kāmāyam pravishanti sarve.
tadvat kāmāyam pravishanti sarve.
Sa shantimāpnoti na kāmakāmi
Sashantimāpnoti na kāmakāmi.
Apuryamānamacala pratishtham samudramāpah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kāmāyam pravishanti sarve. Sa shantimāpnoti na kāmakāmi.
Apuryamanamachala pratishtham samudramāpah pravishanti yadvat tadvat kāmāyam pravishanti sarve. Sashantimāpnoti na kāmakāmi.
Vihaya kāmānyas sarvān
Vihaya kāmānyas sarvān
pumaṁश्चरति निःस्पृहः
pumaṁश्चरति nispruhaha
निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः
nirmamo nirahankaraha
स शान्तिमधिगच्छति.
sashantimathigacchati.
विहाय कामान्यः सर्वान् पुमांश्चरति निःस्पृहः निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः स शान्तिमधिगच्छति.
Vihaya kāmānyas sarvān pumaṁश्चरति nispruhaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sashantimathigacchati.
एषा ब्राह्मी स्थितिः partha.
Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha.
Nainam prapyati vimuhyati.
Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati.
Sthitva syamantakaalepi.
Titvasya Mandakalepi.
Brahma nirvana mrichati.
Brahma Nirvana Mrichati.
Esha brahmi sthiti partha. Nainam prapya vimuhyati. Sthitva syamantakaalepi. Brahma nirvana mrichati.
Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha. Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati. Sthitva Syama Andakalepi. Brahma Nirvana Mrichati.
Om Tat Sat.
Oh,
Iti.
you can do yourself.
Om Tat Sat. Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Sankhya Yogo Nama Dvitiyodhyayaha.
Thank you for all the beautiful chantings. So we have completed the chanting sessions for today. We have finished up with chapter 2, one of the most important chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, with the most quintessential of the quotations from Bhagavad Gita. Actually, many of them come from this chapter. And in this particular segment that we have chanted today. We have our Sunilji to talk about those things in a very short while. And before we get to that, the short forms that are used in the meanings that are used in the previous slides are actually from some of the great masters of Bhagavad Gita, Swami Chinmayanandaji, Swami Dayanandaji, Swami Gambhiranandaji, George Feuerstein, Swami Vireshwarananda, Ekanatheshwaran, Dr. Radhakrishnan. So now we move over to Gita Mahatmya, which will be chanted by Varshaji.
Om Atha Gita Mahatmyam. Gita Shastramidam Punyam. Yah Pathet Prayatah Puman. Vishnof Padamavapnoti. Bhayashokadi Varjitaha. Gita Dhyayanashilasya Pranayama Parasya Cha Naiva Santihi Papani Purva Janma Kritani Cha Malanirmochanam Pumsam Jalasnanandine Dine Sakrit Gitam Bhasi Snanam Samsara Malanashanam. Gita Sugita Kartavya Kim Manyai Shastra Vistaraihi Ya Swayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmadvidisrita Bharatamrita Sarvasvam Vishnor Vaktrat Vinismritam Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punarjanmana Vidyate Sarvopanishado Gavaha Dogdha Gopalanandanaha Partho Vatsasudhir Bhokta Dugdhang Gitamritam Mahat Ekam Shastran Devaki Putra Gitam Eko Devo Devaki Putra Heva Eko Mantrastasya Namani Yani Karmapyekantasya Devasya Seva.
Thank you so much, Varshaji, for that beautiful chanting of Gita Mahatmya. And now we move over to this talk segment, the knowledge segment for today's talk, today's session, which will be by Sunilji, who is well-known as our priest for of Amriteshwari Society, as well as almost all the Gita functions that we are having over the past 25 years. So we are immensely happy to have Sri Sunilji to talk about the most beautiful of the chapters, Sankhya Yoga, the knowledge aspect, and many of the wonderful quotations, Karmane Vadhikarasya, Samatvam Yoga, so many such brilliant essential statements of Bhagavad Gita actually come from this this portion that we are talking, that we chanted today. So over to Sunilji. So we are eagerly listening to wanting to listen to Sunilji. And after this, we will have a short quiz segment. Please hold on for that. And after that, Sunilji will be available for a brief question and answer session. This talk session segment will be about 30 minutes. Sunilji.
ध्यायामो धवलावकुण्ठनवतीं तेजोमयीं नैष्ठिकीं स्निग्धापाङ्गविलोकिनीं भगवतीं मन्दस्मितश्रीमुखीं वात्सल्यामृतवर्षिणीं सुमधुरं संकीर्तनालापिनीं श्यामाङ्गीं मधुसिक्तसूक्तिम् अमृतानन्तात्मिकामीश्वरीं गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. My humble salutation at the lotus feet of Shri Mata Amritanandamayi Devi and whom we adore and worship, Paramatma Tattva, Shri Krishna Bhagavan. Before I commence, this was an ongoing session for many years. I would like to say that an apologetic thing, that as per the spiritual science, anything being uttered, it is being a leftover. It makes that tattva impure. That might be the reason Krishna said, Yad vajotitam tad anritam. So, before, if anything, that which is indigesting because of my conscious level, and if it is disturbing or if it goes overhead, I take apology, pray to Mother, who is none but embodiment of this universe, as well as we worship Mother Amba, Bhagavad Gita. Actually, it is to him, it is to praise the stories and glories of Mother. That's why I have chanted the Dhyana Sloka of our beloved Amma. In reality, as Adi Shankara says, that Param Jane Mataha Tot Anusaranam Kleshaharanam, that obeying the Divine Mother of Cosmos is the way to transcend the agonies of the mind, which, if we could understand, it is the supreme knowledge, Bhagavad Gita, as well as here to understand a little bit, a digit of the power of incarnation. To my little knowledge, I took about 42 years. Actually, if anything I did good, it is all Mothers. If anything, by which I have hurt anyone, which is of my ego. Here, would like to, I do not know, this portion is the crest jewel of Mahabharata as well as Bhagavad Gita. Second chapter is actually the beginning and end of Gita, to say, because it's full of wisdom, full of knowledge which can transport us to the other world of experience. Before that, I would like to give a little meaning, forgive me, about the Dhyana Sloka, because I am finding so much similarity between Krishna Tattva and Amma. Because the Dhyana Sloka goes like this: Dhyayamo, we meditate, Dhavalava Kuntanavati, who is cladded in white, which is the symbol of purity. Dhavalava Kuntanavati, Tejomayim, who is luster shining. Tejomayim, Naishtigim, well established in wisdom. Naishtigim, Snigdhapanga Vilokinim. In Hindu tradition, Krishna's eyes are always similar to the lotus petals, because the Jnana Chakshu, which sees everything in details. And Snigdhapanga Vilokinim, Bhagavati, here it connects to Bhagavad Gita. There also the invocation sloka we can see Bhagavati. Snigdhapanga Vilokinim Bhagavati, Mandasmida Srimukhi. All god and goddesses are giving a blooming smile. Mandasmida Srimukhi, Vatsalyamrita Varshini. And the Guru or God is none but who loves the devotees. Actually, Bhakta Vatsala is the name of the Lord, who loves the true devotion of his devotees. That's why Naradaji, when he has tested that Krishna does puja every day, we all know the story, he was observed, peeped through the window where he saw that Krishna is taking bejeweled boxes and he was worshipping the dust of the feet of his devotees. That is why Bhakta Vatsala, to experience the Lord, we need true devotion. I'm none to speak about that, but here again, Snigdhapanga Vilokinim, Bhagavatim, Mandasmida Srimukhim, Vatsalyamrita Varshinim, Bhagavatim, Sumadhuram, Sankirtana Alapinim. Here we can see that Prahlada Narada's role is to kindle consciousness by chanting the holy names of the Lord and traveling all over, where it symbolizes actually the act of mother. Actually, here it is Valsalyamrita Varshinim, Bhagavatim Sumadhuram Sankirtana Alapinim, Shamankim. Her complex is just like Krishna, Shamankim, Madhusikta Suktim. And the words which oozes out from her as Gita, Madhusikta Suktam, Amridanandatmikam Ishwarim. She is actually a goddess of that immortal bliss. And why I say here, it is Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa Maharshi, who is actually son of Parashara, as we know, Parashara Muni and Satyavati. And Krishna Dvaipa Ayana, actually Amma's abode also could be connected like that, and where the same thing uplifting, and she also uttered saying that love and compassion is my religion, uplifting many, but as representing Krishna. Why I said it, this dhyana of Amma's 108 Ashtotara being written by Otur Unninamputhiripada. He was an ardent devotee of Lord Krishna. He had the feeling to leave at the time of Sharada Devi, which he is missed, and he had expressed that to Divine Mother. And she left his material mortal body at the lap of Mother. And we all seek to be seated at the lap of Mother or Father. If it is denied, we will actually struggle to get it. That is wisdom. So in the second chapter, we can see that is full of such things. And even Guru is beyond God. That's why in this point of time, I would like to utter saying that Shive Rushta, Guru Strada, Gurau Rushtana Kaschana. If Shiva is actually Kopa, angry, and Guru could be saved, Guru can save us. If Guru is angry, which we experience, Guru is angry, nobody can save you. So here I have kept my feeling And I was trying to, because of my, to say that aham, I was uttering and glorifying the Shastras and try to put it in very heights, but not mentioning the substractum. The connection with my mother actually was about 42 years history. And I took this much to least understand this importance of incarnation in a very pointed digital way. Not yet, but there is a lot of actually to be shunned from my side. And by saying that, I would like to go through, I don't know how many verses could be uttered, as Adi Shankara says, that here I'll come back to Gita, that Jaganmadhar Madhastava Charana Sevana Rachita Navadattam Devi Dravinam Abhibhuyastavamaya Tathabitvam Sneham Nirupamam Yat Prakurushe Kuputro Jayeta Kujitabi Kumadana Bhavati. We may be adoring the lotus feet of Mother. Shankara says that mighty intellect incarnation of Vedavyasa or Shankara, saying Shiva, saying that I couldn't adore your lotus feet, O Mother. That means here it reflects that I have did my act out of my ego. It doesn't mean that Shankara never did the puja of lotus feet of Divine Mother of Cosmos. And I couldn't give you dravyam, that is the wealth which I have acquired. But tathabitvam, even though you are loving me so darlingly. And there can be a son who will not love the mother, but there can't be a mother who doesn't love the son. So that I would like to say also. Here, as it goes, I could understand also totally under the control of Bhagavan is Maya. And the Jiva is the total control of Maya. So that is why here karma matters for those who are embodied. And here this wisdom starts with, we need little of background that Mahabharatam is actually here Kanchini Kamana. The verse which Athat Chetom imam dharmyam samkramam na karishyasi tadas swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi. Our life is nothing but this, what we call war, fight between the real and unreal. Real is actually said as that Paramatma Tattva, but unreal is actually here Kanchi Kamana. As Rameshwara Paramahamsa says, that wealth and woman, and sharing and caring with love and compassion is our true tradition, where Amma, actually embodiment of that. In reality, here the war background is nothing but the Kauravas, who do not want to share the least rightful things to Pandava, where started this war in reality. But in theme, it is Veshti and Samashti. The war happens within each and every human beings, as it reflects outside as big wars between two clans or two families or in more, two countries. So here it says that if you doesn't wage the war, which is the righteous war, you will, your Swadharma here ultimately said as true realization. Sosya dharma is Swadharma, is self-realization. What can help for that? Maybe we can connect it with our own action, karma, which being chosen by someone, chosen by each and everyone, or by traditionally handed over the training we got from. So if he doesn't wage that war, which will take us to that immortal bliss, you will attain what hitva papam avapsisi. What is papa? As we experience, papa is actually a thoughts that which is about the names and forms. So if one doesn't do the righteous action between the real and unreal, and establish in that real, we will incur sin, that which flow of thought, which take away the peace of us in reality. And it goes like that. And then it goes, I will pick up certain verses, which all it says about the subtle aspects of that karma in the external world. More dreadful karma is killing someone who is actually, this could be connected with Uddhava Gita, where Krishna says, which very subtle in reality, that Visrajya Smaraman Swan, Lajjam Bridam cha Dehikim, Dandavat Pranamau Bhumau Ashwa Chandala Ghogarav. Here, our thought about kith and kins, relatives, which obstructs in reality. I'm not saying it as practical in a spiritual way. It doesn't mean we are not supposed to think about them and serve them. But here, spiritually, that to curb that thought which obstructs us to this material world. When Krishna was about to leave the body, he was, Uddhava was crying out and saying, "Oh Lord, please don't leave, take me to you, with you." Then he says that, "Oh fool, you didn't understand," where Krishna was saying in Gita also, in Bhagavad Gita also, that one who know me that I'm embodied, they are fools, he say. Ultimately, the same thing is repeated in Uddhava Gita by saying that you have to shun the thoughts of in the sense, thoughts alone. It doesn't mean that physical act. Thoughts about the relatives and that lajja and vrida, the shyness and minus, and praname dandavat bhumau, you prostrate like a stick on ashwa chandala gokharav. Ashwa, the horses, Chandala, the downtrodden, and the horses. In reality, all that he is saying to 124 years old Uddhava to do that, it is he sent to do it mentally, which Krishna says in Bhagavad, which Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, as well as in other Gitas, that to prostrate, see everything, matta paradaram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya, as well as aham adishcha madhyamja Bhutanam anta evacha. I alone exist, that Paramatma Tattva, which is the substratum of everything, to realize that actually this incarnation, who is none but completeness, what we call Krishna, lived in an infinite nature. He lived fully, uplifted everyone in reality to that immortal bliss that was actually pen picture of that non-dual tattva, in which actually Shuka as well as Vedavyasa established. Here, I would like to come back and say that these verses, which actually gives us beautiful, this thing, crest jewel of Bhagavad Gita about Sankhya Yoga, which is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is actually in Bhagavatam also we say, oh, this is philosophy. In Bhagavata is full of stories and devotion, but it says that Yava Jivet, Jivasya Tattva Jnasa. To get that Tattva Jnasa, how many births we are living, we have to get into that Tattva, which is Krishna Tattva, Guru Tattva, Atma Tattva. So without doing that righteous duty, Hadova Prapsesi Surgam, Jitvava Bhokshase Mahim, Tasmad Uttishta Kaunteya, Yudhaya Kridanishcheha. Determine that to act with the body, we are going to see that even an embodied being cannot sit a split of a second without doing action. It's not a physical movement, but mental movement is action, from primordial sound to the blade of grass, Brahma to Pipilikantam, to the ant, Brahmabi Sambhaparyantam, from Brahmaji to the pillar or the least creature. It is all flex and movements. That movements is actually, as Krishna says, it is an illusion. But while moving, one has to give the attention to that static principle, which is Paramananta Swarupa, Shri Krishna Bhagavan. That is why here it says, advises Arjuna, that even Dvavimau Purushav Loke, Surya Mandala Bhedinau, parivrada yoga yuktascha rane jabimukho hataha. Another verse is ascertain this verse. One, there are two people, one who live fully and fight his life. If he dies, he attains that immortal bliss. As well as a man, parivrada yoga yuktascha, one who has total control of his sense organs and mind, and his intellect dissolves into that paratattva. He also experienced that higher world. This verse enlightened that, and it is says that the duality, sukha dukkha, samyakrutva, and the victory and defeat and gain and loss, all those things, you have to tado yuddha yujyasva, transcend all that duality and do your act. Then if you don't have the thought of duality, you will transcend this sin, which is again the repeated thoughts, is actually good and bad thoughts, because it is a combination of guna sammishra, prakriti, sattva-rajas tamo bheda, where this duality, that when we see two, we get into fear and excitement, as I am having. So that is why Krishna here says this verse, and it goes like that. I would like to say Nityanusthana in the 40th verse, Nehapi Kramanashosti Pratyavayo na vidyate. Here, if in Sandhyavantana there is a Pratyavaya dosha, if you don't do Sandhyavantana, which is Gayatri Japa, all Bharatiya are supposed to do. If you don't do, you will accrue sin. If you do, you don't get anything. That is called Pratyavaya dosha. But here it says, very highlighting point, that what we have is the memory loss of our true nature. What we need, according to Krishna, is actually awareness to get back that memory that I am that. So here, that is why Pratyavaya dosha means you are supposed to revel on your true nature, but you are missing it. If you, in that part, how many births it's taken, we do not know in this birth or the next few births, but we can even get now because it's so simple. That's why Krishna here said, Solpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahado bhayat. Even in that part, if you move little, we will never lose it. We only have to start from where we have stopped. That's why it's continuation, incarnations kind of thing. And here, 41st verse here, Krishna says that Vyavasayatmika buddhi, what we need for that is, we need to determine that the goal. Goal is very important. That's why dharma, artha, kama, moksha. If sarga is there, then this dharma, artha, kama, moksha is there. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha is not the shraddha of a true seeker. Moksha is the shraddha. Moksha means, here it's being said that total liberation from the clutches of mind. It is not that bodily you cannot be 100% actually free, but mental agonies, mental clutches, that is all because of ignorance. We may get into that. That is what we have in reality. With Guru's grace, Krishna's grace, it could be removed. Krishna says you have to determine your goal, and means and ways which you take will bring you to that. Means and ways are not so important. If you are not determined the goal, it may misguide you. That is why those who are bahushakhakhya anantascha buddhayo avyavasainam, those who are not determined, they will be spread out into the vyavaharika, which is the karma kanda of the Veda, as I'm doing. Actually here, do and get kind of thing. The cycle will go on, but here Krishna is calling us to understand that end result is nothing but total freedom, which is samatva. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Experiencing Atma, experiencing the Lord. Samatva is nothing but that true experience. When the blemishless evenness is actually Parabrahma Tattva. It says in the later chapter, that is why here it says that in this previous verse, that Siddha Siddhyo Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. Here, Samatva is yoga, where he is slowly taking us through the Karmakanda of the Vedas. Karmakanda is the 1/3. but that is really needed for us to get into that, get into the nishtha, what we call as achara, a discipline. Without discipline, we cannot get that height. That's why he says a true brahmanya brahmaiva bhavati, in the sense that once we imbibe the true knowledge from the Veda and make it as our own in experience, blissful, then his words or her words, it is a guru's words, is nothing but more than that of actually Veda to that disciple who approaches the master to transcend. That is why it's being said, this Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvando Nitya Sattvastaha Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. This world is nothing but actually Vedas also mixture of these three, means manifestation is mixture of all movements are mixture of these trinities, and you have to transcend that Nirdvandva Avastha, attain, and Nitya Sattvastaha, try to remain in Sattva, that which is real, by which you will become Niryogaha and Atmavan. You can revel in that ultimate reality. And the next verse says about Yavanartha Udapane, it is the true nature of an enlightened master. Brahmana means Brahmajnani. Brahmajnani means he is none but that, and that alone. His movements, we will see in the next, I don't know how many verses could be going. Next one is actually also true nature of a enlightened person. For us, what to take home is that karmanne vadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadajana. We have only right to do the action because we have a body. Body cannot sit free. So we have only right to do the action. Adhishtanam tatha karta karanam cha prithakvidam, which comes in 18th chapter, if I'm not wrong. And last comes panjamam deva uchyate. Even if we do action, the adhishtanam should be there, doer should be there, many instruments should be there, the movements should be there, without which the action will not take place. But the fifth one is actually Devam. And to get the result, we need actually the blessing of Deva. That is the true principle here. So, karmanye vadhikaraste, we only have right to do the action. By thinking the result thereof, in reality, what happens is we will lose that perfect performance of the action. In arts also, singing and dancing, as well as doing any act for that matter, if we submit ourselves to the Creator or that Paramatma, and if you could perform it, you can perform it to the optimum level, where we can see some of the enlightening performers when they involve, like the flute of Krishna. Actually, we also merge in that. That is the holo tattva, and where here it being enlightened. Ma karma bhalar hedu bhuhu ma de sangostu akarmani. And we are not supposed to attach to akarma also, because akarma is impossible in reality, but abstain from that doing act also will spoil health as well as wealth and your mental status also. Out of little experience, and it goes like that. And yogastaha, one who remain in equanimity, kuru karmani, perform karma by having detachment, and siddha siddhyo, gain and loss, samo bhutva, samatvam yoga uchyate. That samatva, evenness of the mind, without gushing thoughts and attaching to that thoughts about the names and forms. If you get into that equanimity, what it happens is actually you get yoga. Yoga means you get to be at the feet of the Lord, which means egolessness. It goes in that way. And buddhiyukto jagasida jahadeha ube sube, all it says about that subtle aspect of yoga. And yoga karmasu kaushalam. Here, the brilliance is actually the trick of attaining that equanimity is actually the befitness in the field of action in reality. So to get there, we need to know. That is why here, for a person who wisdom guided, God is nearer than the nearest, and those who take this world or a form outside, then it is farther than the farthest. So here, yoga karmasu kaushalam, by abiding to that, onto that self, which is actually Kaushala, and it goes like that, Karmajam Buddhyuktasi. If we get that Anamayam Padam by performing it, by renouncing the Phala. Bhala renouncing, here we say it is the steps to reach there. But in wisdom, renouncing na karmana na prajaya dhanena tyage nege amrutattvamanshu. Totally, none can renounce everything if you are embodied. But abiding to that wisdom by which these all names and forms, which is actually Maya Tattva, could be renounced, and we can be unite with that ultimate, which is actually Padam Gachanti Anamayam. Then it goes like Yadade Mohakalilam, all those kinds, Shrodavyasya Surdasya Nirvedam Gachanti. Then Shruti Viprativannade Yadastasya Nischala Samadha Achala Buddhihi Sada Yogam Avapsisi. By performing actually Vihita Karma without having attachment to its result, one will slowly attain that sharpened and firm intellect by which he or she can attain that yoga status, that bliss status, which being attained in the 53rd. And there goes actually, we all are seeking a perfect model pictured by Vedavyasa. And there are many incarnations in the Bharata Bhuvi Bhaga, where it's Krishna Arjuna is asking the crest jewel of Gita, what is the Stapratnasaka Bhasha, what is the definition of a person whose intellect is well established in wisdom, how he will move and how he will talk, how he will remain. All this actually Samadhistasya Keshava Stidatihi Kim Prabhasheta Kim Asida Vrajeta Kim, where Krishna takes Arjuna back home, riding him in the very this thing in a fashion manner. He says that Prajahadi Yada Kaman, driving away all the thoughts, objective thoughts about Asha hi dukhasya karanam. Desire is the cause of, we can see elsewhere also, Krishna says that two enemies are none but which takes us to the doorstep of hell is nothing but Kama and Krodha. So here he says, Prajahadi Yada Kaman Sarvan Partha Manogadan Atmanyeva Atmanatushtaha Sthita Pratnasthadochite. One who revel in Atma by driving away all the objective desires which approaches his mind. He who is established in wisdom, as like here Dukheshu Anudigna Manaha. One who here I would like to say previous verses where Krishna said, and Shankara enlightened, saying that titiksha, agamapaino anityaha tam titiksha sabharada, dukha and sugha, and as well as all that duality. And as we indulge in worldly, here as we do puja, we either adore the Lord as Panjabhuta or we try to transcend the Panjabhuta. There is only two methods: Jalam, Gandham, Pushpam, Dupam, Deepam, Panja Upachara. There are many, 16 and more Upacharas are there, Chatushashti Upacharas are there, in which actually here it says that Prithvi is Gandham, in human psyche it is smell. Prithvi and Prithvi Appa is water, in human psyche it is the tongue, taste. In food, water is actually the content that which gives us taste. And Prithvi Appa Tejasa is the eye, light. Without light, eye cannot function. Our eyes cannot function. So Prithvi Appa Tejasa, Vayu is Parsha, which is the Tukka. As we are seated in our own comforts, we were in aircon or fan, without which even Corona has shown that this breathing is very important. That's why in Vishnu Sahasranama Dhyana also being said that prana is none but the Lord and Lord alone. If prana departs, we has to be seduced into ashes. So here prana is actually Vayu, and Vayu is a phenomena. Space is the next one, quality is sound, ear. That's why listening 248, if I'm not wrong, listening 7 days of discourse by Shukji, where Parikshit has attained Brahma Nirvana. He says, Mrityo na bhibemyaham. I never, scared of death in reality. But attaining that status of Sthita Prajna by mere listening without any effort, going deeper and deeper into that wisdom being spilled out by Lord Krishna through great sages and sages of the all. Actually, here we could see, so listening is the very subtle aspect in Prithvi, Appa, Tejas, Vayu, Akasham is the incarnation in fashion, subtler to the grosser aspect in reality. Prithvi is the tala in which we are. This we act in reality, all names and forms. Prithvi Tattva is Gandha, where the smelling aspect we can see it's an animal tendency. Animals all really taking that smell and go around in reality. So we are going, then is the taste kind of thing, but these are the culprit as I am talking, as actually addicted to food. If we have control over the tongue, as Krishna says, we can transcend many kind of thing. As I'm coming back here, so here adoring that Panjabhutatmaga Prapancha, that incarnation of the Lord, Sarva Prapancha, Anantakodi Brahmandam is nothing but incarnation of the Lord. It is a Maya Tattva, given chance for us to hook back to Krishna, that Paramatma Tattva. So here, true nature of that person who established in wisdom, actually, he is who has transcended all the dualities. And in the 64th verse, it says that if we are ragadvesha viyuktaistu, vishayan indriya, oh, I have missed something. Okay. It goes that sarvatran anabhisneha, without having attachment, I mean, anywhere, everywhere. Statat prapya shubha shubham. If the auspicious or inauspicious one who attains, na abhidandati, he is not elated, na dveshti, he is not in hatred. His intellect is actually established in wisdom. And giving an analogy here by saying that tortoise, if it draws its, in adverse situations, withdraws its limbs to its body, as we supposed to, a man of wisdom withdraws his sense organs from its pleasures and secure himself from the illusion in reality. He who have the power to do that will get that wisdom. And again, his Vishaya Vinivartan, the very interesting point here. Even if we fast, we dream about feast. But here, a man who has seen the truth, all those things have worn out. He will not be param drishtva nivartha. It will not come back. As a diabetic patient, if doctor restricts him not to take the sweet, but if somebody who takes care of him moves out, his hand goes to the sweet and he swallow it. Like that for all of us, like those who are not under control, this will be the thing. But for a man who has already reached that heights, that will not come back. So here I missed saying that Tidiksha being mentioned. Tidiksha is actually also explained by Adi Shankara, Sahanam Sarvadukhanam, Apradigara Purvagam, Chinda Vilaparahitam, Tatidiksha iti gachyate. That has to be see the meaning because we don't have time. It is very interesting to say that then says, sorry, it is goes like that. And it is difficult for an embodied person that yadadohyapi kaunteya, even if we are striving for that perfection, if our mind is not steady, purushasya avabhishchadaha, indriyani pramadhini, indriya will actually forcefully drive away harandi prasabham manaha. The mental steadiness will be lost as we have while we are indulging in the worldly things. And to transcend, we have to listen to the words of the Lord. Then he says, Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asidam atparaha. Control, here wisdom is nothing but control of sense organs, and that sense organs should come under the control of mind, and mind should be given in that determinate faculty, which is buddhi. Buddhi should be dissolved in that paratattva, which is explained in this verse 61st, and then goes the beautiful verse, which is actually Dhyayido Vishayan Pumsaha. If we are thinking of a object or a sensual object outside, in our mind as we think, what will happen is we will get attached to that object. Attachment to bring you to possess it. If you can't possess it, Krodha comes. And then if Krodha comes, what happens? That is why most killing aspect is krodha. If we in krodha, angry mood, what happens is we lose total control. Krodhat bhavati samoha, delusion. Delusion means thick cloud, thick curtain comes and envelops the clarity of the mind. And samoha, smriti vibhramaha, we certainly forget our own true nature, who we are and all those. And by that, our discriminative faculty get lost, and then we overact as I'm doing. Overact, what will happen is buddhi nashat pranashyati. Total destruction will take place. That is why Krishna says you have to avoid the entire teaching of Gita, enlightening this verse saying that ragadvesha viptaistu. Once we are, not having raga attachment and dvesha, which is that dual thing. This is the crest point here to say that ragadvesha viptaistu. If we are not to this attachment and aversion, that will only happen by true knowledge, Vishayan Indriya Ishwaran, then you indulge in your own basic things, Atma Vashir Vithe Atma. For him, he gets control over his lower self by the higher self, and you attain that prasada. As we get prasada from the temples, mana prasada, the true happiness, true liberation, true freedom could be attained by transcending the raga and dvesha. And the next verse says, prasade sarva dukkhanam. By attaining that prasada, harva dukkhanam hani. All the sorrows will be burnt off. Here, Krishna's teaching is, Krishna says, my swarupa is Ananda Swarupa. I am none but bliss and bliss alone. And you are not, Arjuna, you are not supposed to grief-stricken. This is a given chance for you and all, that you hook back to my true nature. I am seated in your heart lotus. Give attention to me. That says this verse, prasade sarva dukkhanam hanirasyo vajayate prasanna chedaso hyashu buddhi paryavatisthate. Where buddhi will paryavatishtha, will strongly establish there if you get into that prasada buddhi. Everywhere. And nasti buddhyare yuktasya, if you are not united with this principle, najayuktasya bhavana, you cannot have a true imagination. Where we say imagination, difficult to be explained, naja abhave the shanti. If you can't have a height of heights imagination, ashantasi, you don't get shanti. You will not be having peace at mind. If there is no peace at mind, where is happiness? So this being uttered by the 66 verses, and then again saying, Indriyanam charadam yanmanonu vithiyate. If you let stray out the sense organs without control of the mind, what will happen is your prajna, your intellect will be actually disturbed, or harati prajna. It will be stolen away. It is discrimination. Vayur navam vibhambasi, as the boat set in the way of the wind. It's being said, that is how high it's actually. Tasmadasya mahabaho nigrahidani sarvashaha. By so broad-shouldered one, you control always your indriya from the indriyartha objects, and from and stasya prajna pradishta. If you could do that, you get into that establishment of your intellect. And again saying, Yadisha sarva bhutana, the nature of enlightened masters, like those who are living and those who are departed from their mortal body, the enlightening like Adi Shankara, Ramana Maharshi, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, great rishis of their nature, they are die. Actually, what which is night for us is day for them. What is day for us is night for them. They are awakened to that reality. We are still groping in this darkness of material world. And sa nisha pashudo muni, a true muni, one who attained the total calmness of the mind, he sees as if to say, Didiva Chakshuradadam. They are looking at that truth, which is actually that permanent, eternal principle. And then it goes like Apuryamam Salapradishtam, as that ocean, because Gaganam Gaganavat, Samudraha Samudravat, Bhagavan. Actually, when we say Anubhuti, Anubhutivat, in Vishnu Sahasrama also says, it is incomparable. Anupamaha. one another. You cannot simile Bhagavan to anything, like we can't simile Gagana, this space, to anything, as well as the Samudra. Samudravat Gambhirya, nature of Rama being said, the seventh incarnation, we cannot compare to anyone in the world in reality who has clothed as dharma, came out to express himself, how to behave in this mortal world and attain that he was Parabrahma Tattva alone, and that whole characters in it actually. Sita, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna, Hanumat Sameda, Sri Rama Swamini Namaha has to be reminded here. Like that, here, Apuryamana, Jalapradishtam, Samudram, Avapravishan, all the streams will go and merge with that ocean. Like that, for a man of wisdom, all that desires comes into him, because he has already merged with that oceanous bliss within himself that doesn't disturb him. So that is that verse which I could this thing to say. And here says, Vihaya Kamanya Sarvan, Pumam Sharadin Spruha, Nirmamo Nirahankaraha, Sashanti Machigachati. One who attains that supreme peace, he actually, Nirmamaha Nirahankaraha, as we all have eye and mind, shunned and no desire, he moves around by shunning all those without having objective desire. He attains that supreme liberation, which is actually that verse. And Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha, this is that supreme status, Brahmi status. Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati, after attaining, one will never get back to that delusion. This is the ultimate thing, Stitva, being established in that. If you're trying to move into that, Andakalepi, even at the end of your life, Brahma Nirvana Mrichati, you will attain that Brahma Nirvana as Parikshit has got, many masters have got, and we all, like the children of that immortal bliss, seeking for that. I would like to say that this is actually the ending portion of Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. We are so blessed to be the immortal. We are all the children of Lord Krishna, because here, as Krishna has come down as the complete incarnation of the Lord, and what he did was, he said here at the time of Swargarohana, Uddhava was crying, and he said, as I ascend to that Swarga where the Kali descends, what does it mean? When the Satya departs from the world, then there remains only Asatya. Here, devotion, love and compassion, sharing, unity, which is actually the teaching of our great Bharata, to give lights to entire humanity. This refined teaching of Gita and many other religious texts uttered by the enlightened masters really drench us in this bliss in reality. And I, because of my possessive nature of this thing, I would have uttered so much actually maybe out of ego, and I seek forgiveness, because in our tradition, before you start, you pray for Shanti. When you conclude also, you pray for forgiveness, that, oh Lord, I would have uttered, actually mispronounced, uttered wrong things, my mind was not reveled in you, and so many other forgiveness prayers. I seek forgiveness from Mother and all of you, and submit these words at the feet of Mother. Hari Om.
Thank you so much, Sunilji, for those really highly illuminating words. So it was really fantastic for us to listen to Sunilji. He not only just covered the Bhagavad Gita, he also touched on various aspects like the Srimad Bhagavatam, and also touched on ideas of Panchopachara Puja and so many such things. So we'll have, we don't have much time left. So at the end of the session, maybe if we get time, we can ask a couple of questions to Sunilji. Hope Sunilji will be allowed, will be available. So now we move over to the next segment. We have one more segment to finish before we complete today. So this will be actually a brief mini Gita quiz. We have a set of questions, prepared a set of questions, and this will be hosted, supposed to have been hosted by Yukta. She has some difficulties, so her mother, Abhidaji, is hosting the session. So I will hand it over to Abhidaji. Abhidaji.
Thank you, KKG. Thank you for giving me this opportunity for hosting the mini Gita quiz. So this quiz is a small segments of 2 parts. One of the sections, the first one, has to be answered in couple of words. You can type your answers in the chat box.
No. Through this thing, Google form. All answers should be on the Google forms.
Everything in the Google form, is it?
Yes. Everything is in Google.
Okay. So everything has to be answered in the Google form, and I have.
This is not a real quiz here. This is everybody should answer on the Google form only.
Okay. So I have chatted you the link for the Google form for this third quiz.
Yes.
The questions will be explained in the respective sessions. We have 2 sessions, and as we go on, we will be giving the details of the questions.
You can go to the questions.
So this is the first section or the first segment where you have to answer in couple of words, 2, 3, or 4. The first question is, Krishna uses the imagery of which animal to indicate the withdrawal of the senses from the objects of senses by the man of steady and firm intelligence? This question refers to the parts of explanation of the Sthita Prajna answers that Arjuna asked about the definition of Sthita Prajna. And it also relates back to the verse 58, which Sunilji also explained, Yada samharate chayam kurmunga niva sarvashaha. So you have to find out what is the animal that has been indicated here. The second question is, Krishna tells Arjuna that he will get ill fame if he withdraws from battle. What are the 2 factors that Arjuna will be accused of by the warriors, that they are due to which Arjuna did not fight the battle? So here he brings in some kind of emotional talk with Arjuna, saying that if he withdraws from the battle, it is not going to give him fame, or he will get into ill fame. And in the verse 35, he mentions 2 reasons as why he should not withdraw from the battle. Bayadranadu paratam manyaste tvam maharataha. So in this verse, he gives the 2 factors, and you can write down the 2 factors in the Google form. The third question is, what are the flowery words, pushpitam vacham, that Krishna is talking about in the verse 42 and 43? In the verses 42 and 43, which is Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha veda vadarataf partha nanya dastiti vadinaha. So in these words, you need to find out what are the flowery words that Krishna is talking about. The question 4, what is being defined by Krishna variously in different verses as equanimity, skill in action in chapter 2? So we have seen that karmanye vadikaraste comes in verse 47, where the crux of karma yoga, or how we should be detached to the fruits of the action, has been explained. Continuing in the verses 48 and in the verse 50, he explains about equanimity and skilless in action in the verse which states samatvam yoga uchyate and yoga karmasu kaushalam. The answer is quite there in the verse itself, or the words of chanting itself. You need to tell what are the thing that he is referring to as equanimity and skill in action. Going to the last question of this segment, what is the imagery used by Lord Krishna to describe unperturbed state of man of steady and firm intelligence, into whose mind desire enter? Again, the question is about the analogy that has been used to describe the Sthita Prajna, which comes in the verse 70, Apuryamana Machala Pratishtam. So you need to give the answer as what is that imagination, or what is the analogy used here. Let's move on to the second section of the quiz. The second segment, or the second section, You have to answer in less than 20 words. The first question is, what is the imagery used by Krishna to describe the state of human who is under the control of sense? So for this, it refers back to the verse 67, which is Indriya nam hi charatam enmanonu vidhiyate tadasya harati pragyam vayur navami vambhasi. So here also there is an analogy that is used to tell about how a wavering mind or the wavering senses. You need to find out the analogy. The second question is, Krishna defines a man of firm and steady intelligence in several verses, starting from 55th verse of second chapter. What is his very first definition of Sthita Prajna in simple English? So the 54th verse is the question of Arjuna, where he asks about the definition of Sthita Prajna. And in the verse 55, the first definition that Lord Krishna gives is Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanye vatmana tushtaha Sthita Prajnasya dochyate. So you need to give a definition of Sthita Prajna that has been explained in this verse. The third question, describe the various steps in the ladder of fall described by Krishna, which will result in one's self-destruction or ruin. So in the beautifully explained verses of 62 and 63, which goes with an 8-step ladder of fall or the human destruction, how it ranges from the subtler aspect to the aspect which we see. How does this happen? It is explained in the verses 62 and 63. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha sangasteshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodobhijayate krodat bhavati sammohaha sammohat smriti vibramaha smriti bhramshad buddhinashaha buddhinashat pranashyati. So this is the 8-step fall. You need to explain the steps. Fourth question, how does one get Chitta Prasadam, variously translated as divine grace? According to the verse 64 in the second chapter. The 64th verse of second chapter is Raga Dvesha Viyuktaistu Vishayan Indriyaischcharan Atmavashyai Vidheyatma Prasada Madi Gachati. So using this verse, understanding this verse, you need to explain what results in getting the Chitta Prasadam or the divine grace. The last question to conclude this quiz, how does the attaining of Chitta Prasadam finally lead to Brahma Nirvana? These are explained in the verses, the last 2 verses of the chapter, the concluding verses. Esha Brahmi Sthitif Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati. So using these verses understanding, you can explain how does attaining of the Chitta Prasadam or peace of mind or self-realization helps us to finally attain the Brahma Nirvana. This concludes the mini Gita quiz for today. Thank you, KKG. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Abhidaji. So that is very nicely conducted. So these questions, please answer. Give your answers in the Google form that is given here. This will be also posted in the our Facebook page. So all the links will be available. Actually, you can keep answering to all the questions for some more time. So we will give some till when we collect the answers. Okay, now we go to the concluding mantras. We'll invite Sunilji for the concluding mantras.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhanantaramurtaye Amritakalasa Hastaya Sarvamaya Vinashanaya Trailokyanachaya Mahavishnave Swaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Om Achyutaya Namaha. Om Anantaya Namaha. Om Govindaya Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana va Prakriti Swabhavat Karomi Yadyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanaeti Samarpayami. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamataya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sad. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. 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 Om.
Parayan, thank you so much, Sunil. And now, before we conclude, I think our next segment is going to be on the 14th. So before that, on May 6th, we have the Jayanti of the two of the great masters of our traditions, Sri Adi Shankaracharya as well as Ramanujacharya. It's happening on the 6th of May. So Adi Shankara's was supposed to have been, there are many stories about when he was born, but the very popular one is 787-88. And Ramanujacharya was born in, I think, 1070. So something like 1000 years, 1005 years since he was born. So Adi Shankara died at the age of 32, whereas Ramanujacharya died at the age of 120. So 4 times more almost the time period they lived. And they represented to the diverse viewpoints also. Shankara followed the Advaitic, whereas Ramanujacharya followed the Visishtadvaita. So let us prostrate ourselves before their these two great masters who gave such incredible wisdom to all of us, and also commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, which are outstanding sources for us to imbibe from. So on this note, we will end for today's session, and our next session is going to be, oh sorry, it's not 30th, it's going to be 16th of May. So this is a typo here. So that is all for the formal section today, and I will enable everybody to unmute. You will be able to unmute yourself now, and kindly enable your video so that we can take some photographs before we conclude the session for today. Please enable your videos, please. Request everybody to enable your videos. Enable your videos, please. Yeah, thank you very much. And now the floor is open to the public. At least we can spend maybe 5-10 minutes. Maybe it's already 1:15, 1:10. So we are quite late. But maybe it's not. It's okay for a couple of questions. questions by anybody? It seems like no questions. This talk has left everybody bewildered. So you want to say anything, Sunilji, or Rajeshji, or anybody? Any final words before we close? Otherwise, if there are no questions, we can.
No, I thanks for asking me to say something. Yeah, we should always share some of our thoughts to appreciate the the knowledge that he unleashed, and he has such a command on Bhagavad Gita. We all have known that. So the lecture was very scholarly, Sunilji, and it is so full of wisdom and very deep, very profound. And I have very little to say because for me, simplicity is the key. So I am a very lazy person. So when Sri Krishna says, tasmat sarveshu tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmar yudhyacha, and they say within one verse, it explains the entire essence of Bhagavad Gita. So being a very lazy person, for me, that shloka is good enough. Do your best, do your duty with with the best of your potential and your ability, but don't forget the divine even for a moment, and keep remembering. Sunilji, is that right?
No word. I really appreciate and prostrate at the lotus feet of the Lord for this unity. Actually, it was immense that we all came together. Maybe if I have no doership in the name of Gita Jayanti or in the society whom I'm attached, it actually all design of the Lord. But that unity, that thread, which is none but Lord Krishna, and we can only bend before him. Thank you.
No, I just want to add one line, Sunilji, both Sunilji and Krishnaji, that when most of us would be spending the holidays and the weekends, gratifying our senses, we are reading from the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, and it gave me such a high, and it made my Saturday so special. So, I mean, I have no words for you people who are organizing such austere, such, perfect sessions with such amazing pronunciations, and, everything is so glorious. So I really salute all of you.
I really have to tell about chanters are so amazing, and especially their family, and the Lakshmi ji and the three children, so fantastic. I mean, I am really thankful to Varsha ji for introducing me to them. So it's really so amazing to see the whole family chanting Gita so beautifully. And also, I would like to say that our last time our quiz was hosted by Vinodini ji, and and she was one of the chanters for a long time. And just within few hours of the chanting last session, she delivered her baby, and she got a child on the very next day, early morning, 4 o'clock. So we are really, all of us, will like to express our love and our regards and our blessings to the young child, the Gita child.
And it's always about the quality, not the quantity. Sri Krishna says that, Manushya Nam Sahasresu, out of thousands and thousands. So very few, but at least we have that quality. It is very amazing. I really, really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Varshaji, any points? Varshaji, want to say a few words?
Varshaji is showering her
you have to unmute.
prowess and actually vitality for spreading it. As well as I would like to say that taking the lead, Srinivasanji is guiding us, and with the substratum of Hindu Endowments Board, that it is actually a glorious thing in this part of the world that to take this forward and to reach many more to this immortal bliss. Hari Om.
Anybody else want to say anything? Varsha, you want to say something?
Nate, ever grateful to this platform, which has been, doing so much, because this is the platform where everything is flourishing. So it's not to me, but it's to the platform that we bow down, because from this platform only I began. And then the word began to spread. So even if you're appreciating the family, if you're saying you're giving credits to me, but it is not, I'm giving it to the platform itself, because few years ago I was also one of the participants, joining, participating. So it's an amazing platform to be on. Fantastic. So thank you so very much. Hari Om.
Okay.
Srinivasanji,
Srinivasan, you want to say
blessings.
final words. Unmute.
I think everybody has covered the brilliant work of the all the chanters and the people behind the motive and the organizers. And I think one aspect we have not touched upon is the technical team, who have been giving a fantastic support for this. So thank you, Ji, Krishna Kumar Ji, and the other people with him for doing this. I was able to mention, and KKG added it himself, that the the karma yoga attitude of people to do the karma like that was Vinodini demonstrated last week. We didn't realize that she is going to deliver a baby that night, but she was so committed and she came, and it was a happy thing to see, like KKG appropriately named the child as Gita baby. So
no,
that's
his actual name is Vedesh. His real name has been named as Vedesh, but we are giving a nickname.
No. He can have any name. For us, it's a Gita baby. That's it. So that's a commitment of the chanters that we are grateful for them, that they don't give any excuses or anything, but they try to make it up. And we are never short of the chanters. That is one thing. I mean, everybody comes up. If somebody is held up or something, the other person says, I'll come. So that is the spirit of cooperation and assistance and support we have. We are very grateful to them. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Steve.
Yes, Krishna. Thank you, everybody. See you at the next session, 2 weeks from today.
Hari Om, KKG, there's a question in the chat box. There's a question for you.
Sorry, I didn't see. What is the question? Dhanvantari mantra should be Namaha. Instead of Swaha. Swaha is only for Homam. That Sunilji can answer.
It is actually, Swaha is the mightiest word. Actually, that is all Gita. In reality, Swaha. Swaha means renunciation. Swaha means unto the Lord. You call his name and say Swaha. Rashtraya Swaha. So it is actually Namaha when it comes to chant. There are many mantras which used in both ways, Namaha and Swaha.
Yes.
Actually,
it's not necessary that should be used only for Ahuti. Because Swaha can very well be used in mantras also. There are many mantras. Yes.
Mahaganapati mantra.
Yes.
In this tradition.
Sudarshana mantra, for example, and there are very many mantras with Swaha which are used in chanting. So they can very well be chanted. So there is nothing wrong in chanting Dhanvantari mantra with Swaha.
Maybe more powerful than Namaha.
Also, I want to chip in that Swaha, in Dhanvantari mantra specifically, it is Swaha. And when you want to put a Homa Avriti, you say Swaha and then Swaha for the Homa Avriti. So there are 2 Swahas that come. Dhanvantari mantra comes with a Swaha only, the original this. So this is what the mantra is, Balaji ji. And when you do a Homa, you say that whole mantra, Swaha, and then you say again Swaha. While offering down.
I see. That is news to me.
Swaha is the consort of fire in reality. There are 2, Satta Jihva, and that's why also Swaha.
Swaha and Swatha. You say the 2 are Swaha and Swatha. They are the two wives of Agni Deva. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Hari Om.